There was a time when a young woman stood in front of someone she loved and trusted, and heard words meant to crush her spirit forever. Words telling her she would never succeed, never have a hit song, never be nominated for a Grammy, and that the world would never take her seriously. And instead of breaking, she calmly looked at him and said that one day, when they were no longer together, he would not be able to order a cup of coffee anywhere without hearing or seeing her. And that woman was Stefani Joanne Angelina Germanotta, later known to the world as Lady Gaga, whose journey was never a fairy tale rise but a long walk through rejection, trauma, illness, loneliness, and relentless belief in herself. A journey that began in New York City, where she was born a deeply sensitive, intelligent, and musically gifted child who learned piano at a very young age and used music not as a hobby but as a lifeline. Yet being different came with a cost, as she was bullied for her appearance, mocked for her intensity, isolated for her ambition, labeled as too much in a world that punishes those who refuse to shrink. And while that pain was already heavy, nothing shaped her life more profoundly than being sexually assaulted at the age of 16 by an older man. An experience she did not speak about for years because the world did not feel safe enough to hear it. An experience that took 7 years and further trauma before she could admit even to herself that something terrible had happened, later explaining that if conversations about sexual assault had been more open at the time, she might have spoken sooner, or at least felt less alone. But the silence settled into her body and mind and never truly left, eventually manifesting as post-traumatic stress and chronic pain that still affects her daily life. Pain that fame could not erase and success could not silence, because depression and anxiety do not disappear when millions applaud you. And Lady Gaga has spoken openly about living with these conditions, reminding the world that success does not cure mental illness, and at her lowest point, she did something extraordinary by creating Lady Gaga, not as a mask, but as armor, inventing a persona stronger than she felt she was at the time, using music as a container for pain, art as a language for suffering, performance as a way to survive, curating her life as an expression of everything she endured. And while her career exploded with global hits, shocking fashion, and cultural impact, the old wounds still lived inside her, and despite being labeled a superstar, she has admitted that she never felt like a winner, always carrying the feeling of being the outsider, the bullied girl, the rejected artist. And as fame grew, so did isolation. Because the higher she rose, the lonelier it became, and no amount of money, awards, or validation could fix what she was genetically made to carry, because she was born this way, leading her to speak honestly about taking antidepressant medication, about trying under medical supervision to stop and being advised that it was unsafe for her, about refusing to glamorize suffering or shame treatment, while also exploring healing through mindfulness, meditation, Ayurvedic practices, acupuncture, cupping, prayer, writing music and poetry, and acting, which helped her process emotions safely. But the most powerful transformation came when she asked herself a brutal question about why she was unhappy, and realized it was not music or her fans or her talent, but how much of herself she had given away, how much she disliked being treated like a product, spending days smiling for meaningless photos, watching her creativity buried under commercial demands, feeling like a machine designed to make money rather than a human being with depth. And so she began to do something radical in an industry built on obedience. By learning to say no to projects that did not align with her values, no to appearances that felt empty, no to being used in ways that did not honor her truth. And with every no, she slowly remembered who she was. Her integrity returned. Her self-respect returned. And she described the moment of going home, looking in the mirror, and feeling proud of the person she shared her life with. Herself, someone with courage, boundaries, opinions, and the strength to choose authenticity, checking in with herself throughout the day, and asking whether she truly wanted to do something and honoring the answer when it was no, encouraging others to do the same. Because Lady Gaga did not rise because she never fell, but because she fell and stood up anyway, rising from bullying, sexual assault, chronic pain, depression, anxiety, and endless rejection, until she stood on stage holding an Academy Award for A Star Is Born, a performance rooted in vulnerability and truth. And in her message to the world, she reminds us that this is hard work, that success takes time, that it is not about winning, but about not giving up, that if you have a dream, you must fight for it, because there is discipline in passion, courage in standing up one more time than you fall, that depression does not erase your talent but only hides it, that sadness never destroys what is great about you, but waits for you to rediscover it. That she found one small glimmer of light when everything felt dark and followed it. And now her story is not about fame, but about survival, truth, and choosing yourself again and again, leaving us with one final question that echoes far beyond her life. If she could turn her pain into a voice the world could not ignore, what could you become if you refused to give up and chose to protect the light that is still inside you?